I am so glad to be able to have this conversation with you all right now because one of the things that I believe is that we should all be talking to other folks that have different faith traditions. That's really what DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is all about. And so today, Syema has joined us to talk about Eid. Now, the last Sunday of this month is when folks celebrate Eid. So, but beginning and understanding where this comes from talks about the tradition of Ramadan. And so, Simon, my first question for you, what is Ramadan? How does it speak to you personally? How do you celebrate it and integrate it with your spiritual journey?
So, to me, Ramadan has always had a very spiritual significance in my life and also to Muslims all around the world. It's considered a time of reflection and renewal of faith. Muslims believe that it was during this month that the Quran, the holy book of Islam, was revealed to Prophet Muhammad. And so it's a very spiritual month for all in the religion. But for me personally, the significance is while we fast from food and water from sunrise to sunset, it's a time of meditation to think about all those who are struggling, who are sick, who are hungry. And in turn, it fills us with gratitude and how what we can do to help during that time and everything that they're going through. Because, the closer we put ourselves in the shoes of other people, the easier it is to understand and help.
Absolutely.
Can I interject, Sima? Thank you, RJ. So, how long is Ramadan?
Ramadan, it goes based off of a lunar calendar. It's for a month of each year. Since the lunar calendar, it changes from year to year because it goes by the moon. It'll usually move up as the years go on, but it lasts for a month.
Okay. And what is the I never is what is the literal meaning of Ramadan?
We have to cut that. I don't know. I'm no
No,
longer.
you don't have to cut it. I was just interested. And is Eid just the start of Ramadan?
Eid is actually the end of Ramadan. And so it's the celebration. Growing up, I always saw it as like the celebration of we get to eat during the day again. But but it's actually like a celebration of faith and religion, and everybody went through this big thing together, this huge community meditation and it comes to an end. It's kicked off with a prayer, and so in Fresno, I grew up in Fresno, and they have a Fresno Convention Center, also known as Williams Soroyan Theater. That's where they would host our community's Eid prayer. And so we would go and do that. And so that's kind of how we would celebrate that. Usually we'll eat like a cultural sweet depending on what Islamic region you're from. So my parents are from Pakistan, so it usually would consist of this like rice pudding type dish called kheer. My mom would make that. But yeah, we each family has their own little tradition. One of my favorite ones was after prayer, we'd go to brunch at IHOP, which is one of the most American
One of the
restaurants.
most spiritual places on the planet.
Amen.
Yeah. And so, but it really spoke to like the cultural diversity of America to me, because I mean, sometimes we'd get strange looks from people who had never really seen all those, because we'd be wearing our traditional clothes, which consists of, a lot of different bright colored fabrics and little reflective mirrors. And so we'd be all dressed up. And so sometimes we get some looks of people who never have seen that before, of like, what the heck? And then other times we'd be told like how beautiful we looked and how, nobody had ever seen that. So it just really spoke to the cultural diversity of all of it, celebrating such a cultural thing in a country where so many cultures are celebrated. So
Absolutely. So the question that I have for you, how have you integrated your faith tradition in with who you are today as an adult? Have you taken a little of this and a little of that and put it together? Tell me about how you've assimilated all that you know in this journey.
So, a part of Islam, especially speaking to Ramadan, is a practice of patience. And with that, I've been able to carry that with me as a person of knowing that there's something bigger and better out there, something to strive for. So even though I don't actively practice in the religion anymore, that is one of the main things that I've carried with me of you always want to strive to be your best person, the best person you can be. That's something that religion has taught me. Another one is so my mom and my sister and my stepmom have all passed away. They passed away believing in Islam. They were Muslims, and it said in that faith tradition that when you pass away, you can no longer gain any more, I'm going to call them points. It's called swab, but it's basically points to get you into a higher level of heaven. So once you've passed away, the only way to get more points is if someone prays in your name, fasts during Ramadan in your name, or says prayers for you throughout the day in your name. So, since so many of my close family members have transitioned, when I pray for them in what they believed in. So that way, you know, well, when I hold a fast, it's not for me anymore per se. It's for them and what they believed in. And so, I think part of what this religion and life has taught me is that, if everyone has their own right to their beliefs, and I want to respect them in that, and know that I can help them in the ways that they would have helped me had things been reversed.
I so appreciate that because one of the things that really reminds me of is many faith traditions teach to stand that we're standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. And it also speaks to that idea that, many Protestant faiths have is that a person really dies twice. Once when you make your transition from this world, and the second time is when no one mentions your name again. And many traditions, that's even why some people go to the cemeteries to visit their ancestors. It's a part of that tradition of keeping that name alive. And so, one of the things I appreciate about what you just said is that showing us one more thing that we have that's similar to one another. I want to talk a little bit, or my next question is about when you talked about the prayer. What is it about that praying tradition that speaks to you even today?
So that really brings together the sense of community. When you walk through life, you're not always looking for people like you or who believe in what you do. Sometimes we just kind of fall upon those people. But part of the big prayer that we do for Eid, you're just completely surrounded with so many people who are believing and praying for the same things. It makes it feel so big. Just the power of prayer, whether it's true or not, just all being in that building together, all praying for the well-being of the world and for those who have passed, and for all the hardships we went through this month that are not ending for the people that, are starving and sick and lacking. And, we get to eat at the end of the day. We get to go on and have this big breakfast, but there's a lot of people who we fast for that their lives aren't changing. And so about when you get to that prayer, it really just instills this sense of community, the sense of gratitude that it just never leaves. It stays with you throughout. It's like a reset, kind of like going to church every Sunday. It's this whole month of reset, of looking at the world and all of its beauty and all of its ugly, and coming together and praying for the best of everyone. And so that.
What is the one thing that you would want us to know either about Eid or Ramadan or the Muslim faith that you would want us to know about it that you haven't mentioned yet?
So, that would be the first thing that comes to my mind is zakat. So zakat is the Arabic word for donation. It is one of the five pillars of Islam. So it is expected of a Muslim to always give donations monthly, either back to the church or to the community. But after Eid is one of the biggest traditions in my family and in others, to gather. All the so what my dad would do is he would match our monthly grocery budget, add $500, write a check, and we would go as a family to the Poverello House in Fresno, which feeds homeless and clothes and finds jobs. And so we would go and donate that. A lot of Muslims at the end of Ramadan on the day of Eid will go and perform a big zakat in that for Eid, and with keeping in mind all the fresh meditation you've done for all of those around you.
How do you spell that, Simon?
Z
Simon?
Zaqat.
Zaqat. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, it's
My question, thank you for explaining that. My question also is that I think that I and others might have not an accurate perception of the role of women in Islam. Can you shed some light on that from your perspective?
yeah. So it's with all I've learned now and all I learned growing up in Sunday school about Islam is that oppression goes a lot deeper than religion. In religion, it can seem in culturally that Islam is what oppresses women, but Islam actually provides women with many rights, like to own property, pursue education, to work, to participate in social and political life. There are separate stories aside from the Quran called hadiths, which can be kind of like hymns. They're stories about specifically Prophet Muhammad and through his life and his wives and how they were portrayed in society and how they were respected and went to school and fought for education. And there's a lot of stories and a lot of proof in the Quran that women are to be seen as more than equal to men because we create life in our bodies. And so, if you were to really look into the religion, it shows women as very important and who can do all these things and should do all these things, and that men and women are, it really emphasizes the equality of men and women. And so, as far as oppression in women, it's a whole separate issue that got disguised as religion. We see it all over the world, unfortunately, especially in our cultures, because of, things like modesty, which is also emphasized to be of a choice. Your level of modesty in Islam, according to the Quran, is your choice with how devout you want to be. It's not something that's supposed to be coerced. So when we hear things on the news like women who are killed because their head wasn't covered, that is a whole separate issue. That has nothing to do with religion. And the misconceptions of that come from so many different places on a psychological level, on on a societal level, but nowhere in the Quran, only if it's a misconception, will it say that, you know, women are forced to do these things and they shouldn't be doing these things.
So it sounds like the patriarchal elements have used the words of religion to craft their own message for what they may want to have operating today. And it's interesting to see, as you just suggested, that can be a worldwide phenomenon. That's the thing that we have to overcome is a misinterpretation, the recrafting of the spiritual text, to manifest a cause that may not be for the highest and best. But when you think about the pure essence of the spiritual expression or the religion, you know, it does contain the idea that peace is possible, that the world could create and coexist together something that was for the highest and best of everyone.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I feel like along my journey whenever, my spiritual journey comes up and I talk about how I was a Muslim, don't consider myself one anymore, people will automatically think, oh, it's because of this and that and this, because they see the religion through the cultural aspects. And I just have to explain that we're all on our own journeys and mine led me here, yours led you there, we're we're all doing our best trying to find what speaks to us most, and that's just it. It's we're all on our journeys, and how we perceive things.
Sima, at what point on your spiritual journey, did you stop consider yourself being a Muslim?
So this happened after my mother passed away. I got very angry with God. I I blamed him for a lot of it, and just completely let go of the religion completely. And then when my sister passed away, she passed away 5 years later. I invited God back into my life, but not religion. And kind of kept him with me. And then by the time my stepmom passed away, my dad got remarried after my mom passed away, and she also had some health complications, unfortunately. So by the time my stepmom passed away, I was just angry. I had let go of religion. I had welcomed God, but I was just mad, no longer at God. But also in that time, my journey pushed me to Center for Spiritual Living, where I started learning more about science of mind with that anger in my heart, with God in my heart, but still confused about religion. And it kind of started to plug together some connections that had never really made sense to me before. And that's just speaking to my own personal journey. I don't want to put down anyone who thinks or follows anyone else, but that was just how my cookie crumbled, and I'm so grateful to have a cookie to have been crumbled.
I
Um,
love that.
That's great.
so it's been long and painful, but it also there's some sense to it now. And it has nothing to do. I still pray, as I mentioned earlier, for my family who's passed in Arabic and with their faith traditions in mind, because it was a big part of my life, and they're a big part of my life, which means it never truly leaves. But I no longer have any bad feelings towards religion or God. I've just since grown from that. It's all part of my story.
It's all part of your hero's journey, and how we assimilate all the things that have happened to us and taking from that history what makes sense for who we are today and seeing ourselves as a fully actualized person. That is so good, so cool. Kiki, any last question?
No, thank you. It's been fascinating. I learned a lot. I appreciate it, Simon.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Syema, thank you so much. You are such a joy, such a light into the world. I hope you keep speaking, keep talking.
Thank you, Rev Jack. Thank you, Kiki. This
Thank
was
you, Sima. Thank you, RJ. And this has been an Elder Pride production. For more information, please log on to elderpride, the number 4, me.org. Thank you.